Hello everyone, welcome. Today we will read about Renaissance. What is Renaissance? The Renaissance is a French word translating to rebirth or revival. It symbolizes the beginning of new era of art, reviving the classical models of ancient Greek and Roman. It is considered the bridge between the Middle Ages and modern history. It started as a cultural movement in Italy in late medieval period and later spread to the rest of the Europe. The Renaissance was a time of rebirth in creativity in Europe in 1300. It brought changes in many areas political, social, economic, cultural, and in art and in traditions. Most important, however, were the changes in the way that people viewed themselves and their world. During this time, there was a renewed interest in classical learning, especially the culture of Rome and ancient Rome. This was time of rebirth after the disorder and disunity of the Middle Ages. After some 8 centuries of discontent from the ancient culture and heritage, these people have rediscovered, or I can say that they have revived their Greek and Roman classical heritage and culture. As a wise man has once said that art is what makes us human. So now we will discuss about the causes of Renaissance. Historians have identified several causes for the emergence of Renaissance following the Middle Ages, such as increased interaction between different cultures, the rediscovery of ancient Greek and Roman texts, the emergence of humanism, different artistic and technological innovations, and impact of conflict. The Renaissance was an important event in European history that stretched from 14th century to the 17th century. It was preceded by the Middle Ages in Europe and eventually it led to major events of the Age of Enlightenment. In historical terms, the Renaissance is important because it led to a major shift in European thought and worldview. While the Renaissance is considered to have begun in the city-state of Italian peninsula in 14th century, the main idea of movement eventually spread to all Europe by the 16th century, like a ripple effect, like we can domino effect. The most significant changes that emerge as a result of Renaissance can be seen in European architecture, in art, literature, mathematics, music, philosophy, politics, religion, and science. Historians have identified several causes for the emergence of the Renaissance following the Middle Ages, such as increased interaction between different cultures, the rediscovery of ancient Greek and Roman texts, emergence of humanism, different artistic and technological innovations, and the impact of conflict and death. Now we will talk about increased interaction. The first main cause of Renaissance was the increased interaction between different cultures and societies in the time before and during the start of Renaissance. This is important because at the time of Europe was in the midst of Middle Ages. The Middle Ages or medieval period had several key features such as feudalism and devout religious faith in form of Christianity. These features, along with other features, combined to form a society that was very rigid and complex socially, also religiously, and politically. This means that European society was not ready to change. However, the essence of the Renaissance was the Europe experienced a shift in worldview and perspective. This shift was caused by new ideas, views, and beliefs that Europe was exposed to in the centuries before the start of Renaissance, which began in 14th century. First, a vast trade network across Europe was there between Asia, Africa, and Europe, and it led to increased interaction between these societies, and which also caused the exchange of goods. But it was also cause of exchange of people, exchange of belief, ideas, and values. And the largest and most important well-known network of this was Silk Road, which is also called Silk Route. And it is perhaps one of the earliest and largest trade network in human history. And it played a vital role, important role in different civilization throughout Eurasia, between Europe and Asia, from approximately 120 BC to 1450 BCE. Now, furthermore, religious and philosophical beliefs from the time period spread easily along the route, that Silk Route. So, belief was spreading along with this route and had a profound impact on later events such as Renaissance. This influx of new ideas inspired people in Europe, including artists, writers, philosophers, and more. The fall of Constantinople in 1453 to Ottoman Empire or Ottoman Turk effectively ended the Middle Age and signaled the beginning of Renaissance. Greek scholars fled to city with manuscript and knowledge unheard of in the West. So when there was a fall of Constantinople, when the Ottoman Turk made victory on Constantinople, this artist and literary person fled from this area and went to Italy and Florence. The fall of Constantinople also broke trade routes between Europe and Asia. So the Silk Route, which was a route between Asia and Europe, was broken by this invasion, which led to exploration for new route to Asia, and it led to age of exploration. So since Silk Road was closed for European people to go to Asia, they were ready to explore new sea route to Asia. The The fall of Constantinople directly affected the start of the Renaissance. Many Greek scholars fled Constantinople before and after the fall of city due to Ottoman threat and due to Ottoman victory. Because these Ottoman people were ready to destroy their culture and their learning, so they were feared of that attack, and they um, fled with their manuscript to Italy. They went to Italy where they were welcomed. They took with them many books and manuscripts written in Greek. In Italy, they were translated into Latin. These books were translated into Latin, and the information that they contained, much of which was from classical Greece, nearly 1,000 years before, played an influential role in intellectual life of Renaissance. So this manuscript, this learning played a very important role in intellectual life of Renaissance. The influx of scholars and explorers from Greece, together with the economic monopoly of Mediterranean trade by Ottoman, helped jumpstart up the age of exploration, where the new discovery was discovered. So, since they were not able to use that Silk Route now, so they started to get new route to Asia, as I discussed earlier. Even though the fall of Constantinople was a dark and a terrible event, it led to the beginning of the Renaissance. So it proved a blessing in disguise, fall of Constantinople, and which helped to pull Europe out of the dark ages and into the modern life of New Age. The fall of Constantinople brought many changes to European society. The fall of Constantinople signified the beginning of Christendom, modern age. It led to establishment of biggest empire of its time, the Ottoman Empire. The fall led to intellectuals from the Byzantine Empire leaving to go to Italy and helping spark the Renaissance and end the Middle Ages. So when this new learning reached Italy, Middle Ages was ended slowly, and there was a new beginning of new era. The fall of Constantinople also helped affect economic trade in Europe that eventually led to push for the New World exploration that helped to discover the America. Overall, the fall of Constantinople was an important event in Europe that had a lasting impact even to this day. The Renaissance supported a spirit of adventure and wide range curiosity that led people to explore new world. Columbus, who sailed to America in 1492, represented that spirit of adventure. So did Nicholas Copernicus, the scientist who revolutionized the way people viewed the universe. So he propounded the theory of uh, how Earth moves around Sun. Renaissance writers and artists eager to experiment with new forms were also product of that adventurous spirit. Italian beginning. Renaissance began in Italy in mid 1300, then spread north to the rest of Europe. It reached its height in 1500. It, it began in Italy because Italy was the center of ancient Roman history. Architectural remains, antique statues, coins, and inscriptions were all visible reminders to the Italian glory. We can still see these reminders of Renaissance in Italy. Italy also differed from rest of Europe as its cities had survived the Middle Ages. In the north, cities like Florence, Milan, Venice, and Geneva grew into prosperous center of trade and manufacturing. Rome is the central Italy. Rome in the central Italy and Naples in south also contributed to Renaissance cultural revival. Finally, a wealthy, powerful merchant class in these city states further promoted to cultural rebirth. These merchants exerted both political and economic leadership, and their attitude and interest helped to shape the Italian Renaissance. They stressed education and individual achievement. They also spent lavishly to support the art. Humanism emphasized the need for value. Humanism was also emphasized by this Renaissance, and human emotions and dignity was emphasized, and human emotions and dignity was rather more important than the contrary to the moral rigidity or religion. Humanism stresses the man's right to pleasure. Thanks to thinkers like Francisco Petrarch and Giovanni Boccaccio, attention has shifted from religion to worldly things, and that is how worldly things and knowledge cease to be negative connotation, and this worldly pursuit of this worldly things became positive connotation. In the age of Renaissance, people have begun to question why and how things happened. The era of questioning has begun. The age of Renaissance has fired imagination of people, and people were freeing themselves from the crutches of religious fundamentalism, and they were now developing reasoning. They conduct scientific experiments. They were going to exploration and expeditions so that no stones remain unturned for them. So this was the period of Renaissance, and in this period, people were relying on reason more and more than ever before, and scholars with this spirit of inquiry and questioning and reason were rejecting many superstitious belief. These scholars were known as rationalists. They, in fact, questioned the church, and they were also standing for humanism and nationalism and rationalism. And they were not actually shunning or going against elements of religion and mythology altogether, but they were viewed that they don't possess absolute faith in the supernatural part of the religion. So they were not happy with the supernatural part of the religion, which was predominant in that part of Middle Ages. They were going against that, and this thinking of reason challenged religious institutions that considered the only um, bearers of knowledge. Earlier, these churches and these religious institutions considered themselves the only bearer of truth and knowledge. And now artists and sculptors of that time, that Renaissance time, conducted detailed studies of anatomy and give prominence to human emotions. And now we will talk about Florence and Medici. The city of Florence, perhaps more than any other city, came to symbolize the Italian Renaissance. So, Italy, Florence was the main city which became center of Renaissance. Florence was home to many gifted poets, artists, architects, scholars, and scientists in the short span of life. And in the 1400, the Medici family of Florence organized a banking business. They were first to start the banking business in Florence, and the business prospered in that area, and the family expanded into wool manufacturing, mining, and other ventures of business. Soon the Medici family ranked amongst the richest merchant and bankers in Europe. This money gave the family cultural and political power. Now, Cosme de' Medici gained control of the Florentine government in 1434. They got control of government also, and the family continued as a uncrowned ruler of the city of Florence for many years. And best known of all these Medicis was Cosimo's grandsons Lorenzo de' Medici. You can see in the picture. This is the picture of Lorenzo de' Medici. He was pioneer in this field of he gave patronage to art and literature. He was a generous patron or a financial supporter of the arts. Poets and philosophers frequently visited the Medici Palace, which was in Florence, and artists like Michelangelo learned their craft by sketching ancient Roman statues, which was collected in the Medici Garden. And it is also said that Michelangelo lived with this family for many years. He dined with them. Humanism at the heart of Renaissance was an intellectual movement known as humanism, and humanism played a very important part in this Renaissance. Humanism focused on worldly subjects rather than on religious issues that had a preoccupied or occupied medieval thinkers. Humanist scholars hope to use the wisdom of ancient to increase their understanding of their own time. So it was established as humanity is foremost religions, foremost important, and not any other religion like Christianity or any religion. Humanity is the best religion. This thing was established. Renaissance art reflected humanist concerns. Like artists of the Middle Ages, Renaissance artists portrayed religious pictures such as Mary, Jesus, and saints. However, they often set these figures against a Greek or Roman background. So these people were projecting like this, and the artists even paint men and gods in human form, and they were devoid of any divinity but brimming with life and beauty. And they were this Renaissance movement also promotes local languages in place of Latin languages. This resulted in shift in focus of non-religious themes in literature, which now emphasized human lives and everyday problem. So in literature, there was focus on everyday problem of human being and human lives. The artist, the architect, they feel free to break free from medieval rules and boundary and bondages, and now and the norms. They now they were blending Islamic and Greek art to for most exquisite architecture that a world has ever seen. And they also use shading to make a object look round and real, and this made it possible for them to portray the human body more accurately than medieval artist has done. Now we will learn about important characteristics of Renaissance period. Uh, one important characteristic is rise of Hellenism. Hellenism means love of Greek. Hellenism means a passionate love for everything Greek, including Greek mythology, Greek literature, Greek art. Diffusion of new learning. The study of classical writers of ancient Rome and Greece were studied in this Renaissance age with great interest. People were reviving their interest in learning of Greek and Roman literature. These authors changed the outlook of people. The Renaissance paid the attention of this world and its things. And most prominent writers of this Greek and Roman were Homer and Virgil. Now, rise of humanism. During the 14th century, the philosophy of humanism began to emerge in Italy. Humanism emphasized that man is center of universe and that all human achievement in art, literature and science should be regarded. Humanity became foremost in a religion. Instead of relying on the will of God or church, people began to act according to their capabilities, and their reason and their logic. Emphasize on individualism. This Greek literature left a deep mark of worldliness and individualism on Renaissance. Now, Christopher Marlowe's plays like First, Dr. Faustus are the fine example of individualistic character. The character of Dr. Faustus is a truly representative character of Renaissance age. Invention of printing press. In 1450, Johannes Gutenberg invention of movable printing press revolutionized the communication and publication in Europe. And as a result, publication of humanistic thinkers like Francisco Petrarch and Dionys Boccaccio works were printed and distributed to elite class and to common people also. And in England, this printing press was brought by uh, Caxton. So that was called Caxton printing press. Now, growth of trade and commerce. In addition, growth in trade and commerce between the East and West set the stage for Renaissance. Now we will talk about Renaissance genius, people who were very foremost in this age. Some of the most famous and groundbreaking Renaissance intellectuals, artists, scientists, and writers include in this age was Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, he was a Italian painter, he was an architect, inventor, and Renaissance means Renaissance man, and he is responsible for painting the Mona Lisa, world famous painting, and the Last Supper. Then there is Rene Descartes. He was a French philosopher and mathematician, and he was regarded as the father of modern philosophy. He was famous for stating, I think, therefore I am. Then Galileo. Galileo was Italian astronomer, physicist, and engineer. He was a great Renaissance man. Now, Copernicus. Copernicus was a mathematician and astronomer, and who made first modern scientific argument for the concept of solar system. Now, Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes was English philosopher and author of Leviathan. Geoffrey Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer was also called father of English literature and father of English poetry, and he was an English poet and author of the Canterbury Tales. He belonged to 14th century England. He was very much influenced by writers like Dante and Petrarch of Italy. Now we will talk about Dante. Dante was an Italian philosopher, poet, writer, and political thinker who authored the Divine Comedy. Then there is Niccolo Machiavelli. Niccolo Machiavelli was Italian diplomat and philosopher. He was famous for writing The Prince. His famous book was The Prince and Discourses of Livy. So this book was a great epitome of Renaissance spirit. So such was the characteristics of Renaissance. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.